I'm going to do a very brief introduction of the posting of the colors, and then after they are finished, we'll have a little bit longer welcome and kind of a plan of what we're going to be doing here today. But the opening remarks preceding the posting of the colors, it might be that we have folks in the audience from other countries, may not be totally familiar with the customs and traditions regarding American military service and recognition when we post the colors, do the flag in American ceremonies. It is traditional for men to remove their hats and for men and women to place their hands over their hearts during the national anthem or when the flag is moved, as it will be this morning, or when the taps is being played by the bugler. Older military customs suggested that only those in uniform would render a salute to the flag. That has been changed in recent years. Now a veteran, of which I am one, or an active duty service member, and we have those here today, who is not in uniform, if they wish, may render a salute to pay their respects to the flag at any time. Today, as we get ready then, could we have all veterans and active duty members stand and be ready to stand at attention and salute when the national anthem is being played? And gentlemen and audience, please rise for the posting of colors.
Left, wheel, arch, left, 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 right, left, left, color guard, halt.
Veterans, attend.
Present colors.
Present arms.
Ready, cut. Color guard, dismissed.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was were the Sea Cadets. If you would please have your seats again, and we will begin with the other part of our program. It just occurred to me that no matter how long we have been out of the military, I'll talk to my colleagues over here, it seems like it's automatic and we know exactly where to go to put that salute up there, don't we? Even though we don't do it on a regular basis. And it feels good to be back in that position. My name is Bob Moore. I am retired, although my colleagues laugh when I say that. I'm a retired psychology prof. I continue to teach part-time, and I have been my honor to be a part of this ceremony for many, many years. And I would like to welcome all of our guests today, our distinguished guests, Students, I know students have come from classrooms, many faculty members are joining us, staff and administrators. Today's ceremony marks the 14th time that we have held this ceremony since a small group of faculty and staff veterans started the tradition of holding a Veterans Day ceremony on campus. We used to do this outdoors, and I was thinking about that today as I was coming in. I'm sure glad that we are choosing to do this ceremony indoors now. With the establishment of the Collegiate Veterans Association, the organization CVA, which is started in 2014, and you'll hear from some of those folks today, and the unpredictability of Iowa weather, we thought it was a good idea to bring things inside and make it a more formal ceremony. And again, you'll hear from some of these folks shortly. We are here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of the heroes who joined us in this group today and those who are here only in spirit, a person cannot help but feel awed by the enormity of what we encounter. At this time, I would like to ask all veterans and active duty members to please stand. And if you would, audience, join with me in giving these folks our applause. Thank you very much. I also remember in my military service, I was married, had 3 kids during the time I was in the military. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask any family member of any service member or veteran to please stand so we can recognize your contribution as well, if you would please. And if we could give a round of applause to all of these folks who have been there. Thank you. We recognize, no matter how one got into the military, we recognize the sacrifice who have been a part of the finest fighting force the world has ever known, and again, the loved ones who have stood beside them. We will always and forever remember the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in the wars that we have fought dating back to the beginning of our country. Those folks who will not be returning, who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And of course, that is the reason that Armistice Day, later Veterans Day, was established in the first place. Let us show our appreciation by honoring all of our veterans and working to ensure that the promise of America is within the reach of all who have protected it. It is now my pleasure to turn the program over to a veteran, a student veteran, Sarah Mattingly. I had a chance to chat with her a little bit before the program began, and I am very pleased and very honored to ask her to come to the stage and talk to us for a few minutes. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Bob. That was a wonderful opening to our presentation today. I am Sarah Mattingly. I am the Student Veterans Association, the CVA President Secretary. I am a non-traditional student coming back for the 3rd time thanks to my GI Bill and Voc Rehab. Our president of the CVA Club could not be with us today. He's at a different conference, so this was a task to me. And I'm grateful because our speaker I have known for over 30 years. He's quite an outstanding man. Our children go to the same school, so we see each other often in the community and at different veterans events. And he's a pretty squared away guy. And we're very thankful for the work that he put into making the CVA happen here. Staff Sergeant Edwards entered his military service on June 16, 2006, as a member of the Iowa Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Edwards joined the Iowa Army National Guard as a motor transport operator at the age of 22. He has served in various leadership positions, from team leader through platoon sergeant. In January 2018, he joined the Iowa National Guard Recruiting and Retention Battalion as a recruiter. We're thankful for that. You're a good one. Staff Sergeant Edwards deployed to Iraq as a heavy equipment transporter with the 1168 and 1133rd Companies in 2008 to 2009. Staff Sergeant Edwards has attended many military schools, ranging from Army Instructor School through senior leadership schools. He has been awarded numerous medals and accolades to include Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal with Star, Iowa Humanitarian Service Ribbon, Iowa Leadership Ribbon with Torch, Senior National Guard Recruiter Badge, and Army Basic Instructor Badge. Staff Sergeant Edwards' civilian education includes a high school diploma from Marshalltown High School with the class of 2002 and an Associates of Arts degree from here at MCC in 2015. Herschel resides in Marshalltown with his wife Stephanie and their 6 children, Tatum, Ethan, Madison, which we have here, Riley, Hendricks, and Charles. Staff Sergeant Edwards enjoys spending time with his family and riding his motorcycles. He is an active member of the Frank Lewis Glick American Legion Post 46 and a member of the Post 46 American Legion Riders in Marshalltown, Iowa. Please welcome Staff Sergeant Edwards.
All right, so first things first, Mr. Engel, I want to say I went back to your flow of speech, so from all you students here, you can learn something from Mr. Engel and the way proper good speech can be written. Second of all, thank you for allowing me to come in and speak. Pele, the CVA, I really appreciate it. Like Sarah said, when I went to school here back in, I started in 2012, kind of took a break in service for a possible deployment, and then I came back, and it dawned on me that we had all these other groups and organizations on this campus, but nothing for us veterans, right? We could fit in with all these other groups and do all that, but nothing specifically for us. Nothing where if I'm having a bad day or a jolly day and another fellow veteran may be having a bad day or a jolly day, whatever, for us to cheer each other up. The other thing about the CVA was we didn't really know who's who, right? Because a lot of us veterans, we like to just kind of live and live and let live, right? We don't like to talk a lot about our service. We don't like to be in the classroom saying, that's me, I'm the veteran, right? So once again, thank you for allowing me to come back and speak. So with that being said, here we are, November 11th, Veterans Day. About almost 100 years ago, Armistice Day started, and that was on the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour, which was to memorialize or to show the ceasefire of World War I, the war that was supposed to end all wars. Has it? No. Are we still in conflict today? We are. But without the men and women of our armed services, without the ones that raised their right hand and took that oath of enlistment to defend our Constitution from both enemies, foreign and domestic, and willing to write that check that can be cashed in at any time, any place, for the cost to include their life, would we not have the American way of life? We wouldn't have our freedoms and our liberties that we prize. We wouldn't be able to have our freedoms of speech. We wouldn't have our freedoms of religion. We wouldn't have our Second Amendment with the freedom to bear arms, the right to bear arms. It was us men and women, that gave that to all of us, the United States. Now, you can trace us veterans all the way back to the very beginning of the United States. When we all started coming over here, building colonies, and we fled, we escaped. We didn't want to be under the British rule anymore. So then we took up our arms. Colonists, everyday citizens took up arms to defend what they felt was right. And those truly are our very first veterans of the United States. So as I sat here last night, yes, like a college student, I procrastinated. You know, I had to think, what all am I going to talk about? What do I want to talk about? I can take this in many different directions. I can take this in many ways. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is what does it mean to be a veteran? What does it really, truly mean? Now, I can say what it means to me, but as you can see, we have other fellow veterans in the crowd. And it may not mean exactly the same to them, but there's little nuances between all of us. And so, with that being said, what is a veteran to me? What does it mean? Yes, the Department of Affairs, Veteran Affairs says a veteran is anybody that has served on active duty and has been honorably discharged. Pretty simple, right? We've served. But what goes along with that service? See, that's the underlying. Is as a veteran, a lot goes on. So we all took that oath that I talked about just a minute ago. We all wrote that check, that blank check, for all of you and for us and for our families. But then we all had to go to initial training, right? We all had to go to basic training, boot camp, whatever your branch of service was. We all had to do that. That was our first indoctrination to what it means to be a service member. We all got to meet those drill sergeants, the drill instructors. They got to set us right, take us from civilian life, make us uniform, make us a team, and really tell us or teach us who we are. See, when you get to that initial entry training, you're shocked. It's a culture shock. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. All you can hear or all you know is what you've either today YouTubed or back in those days. I won't go that far. Your friends, right? Fellow family members, anybody else that has served, the stories that they've told you. But at that point, we knew where we were going and what we were doing. And then after that, we got to go to our job skill training. We got to learn. We got to learn our job. Throughout that time, that's when we start to make lifelong friends. See, you're taken from an individual and you're made a team. You become something bigger than yourself. And with that team, you make friends. And those friends are with you the rest of your life. Because not everybody goes through that together. Or everybody goes through that together, but not everybody experiences it, right? Something strictly a veteran has experienced. Once we're done with that training, that's when we go back to our unit, whether it be active duty where you're going to a fort somewhere, or in my case, the National Guard, where I came right back here to Marshalltown, Iowa, and became a member of the 1168 Motor Transportation Company here in Marshalltown. That's when you realize that you're part of a big family. But with family, you also have to understand that our family sacrifices right alongside of us. Our family serves with us. For instance, this summer, I left for a month and a half long training on my wife's birthday. I was gone for Ethan and Madison's birthday, and I returned home on Hendrix's third birthday. So as a veteran, we all do our service and we all stand up for what's right, but our family is the one that stands beside us, supports us, and also tells us that they love us. Next, outside of that, once we get back and our family understands what we're doing, now we go off and we may go to war. Instance, Iraq, 2008, 2009 for myself. Once again, that family's there. Phone calls are far and few between. Mail, far and few between. But you know they're there. And you know that you're doing great things. For me, I didn't know what we were doing. I wasn't quite sure until I got to country, December 25th of 2008. Christmas Day, I put boots on the ground in Iraq. Throughout the year, I traveled, or didn't travel, I convoyed all over the country, all the way from the very northern border to the western border of Syria and Jordan, to the eastern border of Iran, and down south to Kuwait. I traveled, and I made the point that every time that I stopped at a base, that I asked the local nationals, are we doing something for you? What was life like prior? What's life like now? And what do you think life is going to be like afterwards? Because see, as a veteran, you care. You care about what you're doing. You care about the cause. And you want to make sure that the cause is right. And I can stand here and tell you that everybody that I talked to was very happy that we were there. Every Iraqi national that I talked to. Now, with that, we also carry burdens. Much like this table that you guys will hear about later, we carry the burden of our fallen brothers and sisters. We carry the burden of missed time with our family. We carry the burden of not being able to enjoy all the things we want to enjoy all the time. And that's coming from an active duty standpoint, right? The retirees, they get to enjoy it all. But we sacrifice. And really, that's, to me, my definition of a veteran with some caveats of a story in there. I just want to thank all of you today for being here. And I'd like to end this with a poem that I found by Dennis Edward O'Brien that I find very, very heartfelt, and it means a lot to me, and I think this is why we should remember our veterans and why we should be here celebrating our veterans. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the poet, or it is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom of demonstration. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves the flag, and whose coffin can be draped by the flag, who allows protesters to burn our flag. Thank you.
So today is a poem by Roger Robichaud, and it's What Heroes Cave. Each don their uniform to be defenders of our liberty. Their mission sure, their spirits bright, guard freedom's home, be brave to fight. One final day, each faced their call, each gave their best, enduring all. We'll never know what they went through, but know they loved this country true. Deep down inside, we should all feel what heroes gave their cost so real. We must stay thankful, grateful of the gift of freedom through their love. Their loved ones bore the gravest pain. What we can't know, some now sustain. To God I pray their pain will cease, and each will find long-lasting peace. Remember this from year to year, what heroes gave shall not disappear. We'll never let their special day, their time for honor, slip away. These brave fought for a nation free. If not for them, where would we be? Thank you.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at the break of day. To our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
I'm PJ Colbert. I'm an English teacher here and also the one of the advisors for the CVA group. And I just want to welcome all of you here. It's been a wonderful morning so far. Now to the main event, we get to see everyone and have all the veterans and the CVA members and any active duty military members, if you would come forward, go to the podium, state your name, your military branch, and your duty stations, and anything else that you'd like to add. When you're done, line up on the corner of the room here, and then when we're finished, we'll give you a round of applause. So, Herschel, you want to be first? Get us started.
Hello, everybody, once again. Herschel Edwards, Staff Sergeant, Iowa Army National Guard. I'm the full-time recruiter here in Marshalltown for the Iowa National Guard, so my station is right at the Armory over by the Iowa Veterans Home. Some of my service, as you guys had heard, was Iraq 2008 to 2009 as a 88 Micah motor transport operator.
I just want to say clearly the Navy won the vocals in the last.
We didn't know this at all.
No, we did. We had no idea. Sarah Mattingly, second class petty officer, Master at Arms, second class, United States Navy. They retired me. I was in Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, New Hampshire, as well as a naval support activity, La Maddalena, Sardinia, Italy. Thank you.
So first off, don't feel bad. I'm a trained singer, so. My name's Ross Bullock. I was in the United States Navy from July 10th, 2003 till April 15th, 2015. I am a non-traditional student returning for education for my GI Bill in the electromechanical technology program. I was stationed I was a sonar technician in Hawaii for a little over 7 years on the USS Los Angeles, USS McCluskey in San Diego, California, followed by USS Anchorage. Thank you guys very much.
Okay, my name is Pele Wadalov, and I am a Vietnam-era veteran, which means I came in the Army and I left home in American Samoa in like December after Christmas of 1973. So I stayed a few days in Hawaii and then went all the way to Fort McClellan, Alabama for my basic training, and I saw my first frost in Alabama because we don't have snow or frost. So I was stationed, then I went for AIT in Fort Ord, California. Then after that, I was sent all the way to Heidelberg, Germany. And that's where I was stationed at with the headquarters of 7th Corps. And I was a casualty clerk, which means before they even coined the 24/7, we were doing that already because we were working 12-hour days, was 24 hours, 7 days a week. So that's my story, and I am sticking with it. Thank you.
I'm Bob Moore, and I am not a trained singer. In fact, sitting next to Gary, he said, while I was doing the Air Force song, "You're not a trained singer, are you?" I am Bob Moore. I was in the Air Force during peacetime, really between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, when we were not engaged in combat around the world. I was in airborne electronics, and so worked on jets and bombers and fighters during that time, mostly in Kansas, but I did do trips to Morocco and Spain during my tour of duty. And a very, very proud member of the Air Force for that 4-year period. And thank you very much.
Gary Fulton. I was in the Navy from 1971 to 1976. Served on the USS Seattle. It was called an AOE. Carried fuel and ammunition to supply the other ships in the fleet. Worked as a radar operator, tried to keep us from running into other ships or running aground. lived in Marshalltown here for about 35 years. About 2 years ago, I discovered that 2 other men in Marshalltown were on the same ship as I was. Vic Hellberg, if you know him, Hellberg Jewelers, and Bob Miller. They'd formed a Seattle Veterans Association, so I discovered that about a couple years ago, so I've been a member of that with them. It was an honor to serve. Served in the Atlantic, home ported out of Norfolk, up and down the Atlantic for 6 months, and 6 months in the Mediterranean. Visited some of the same places that Sarah had, so it was very good duty. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mark Feilman, U.S. Navy. Started out in pilot, aircraft carrier pilot. Started out in Pensacola, Florida, and got the training. Went down to South Texas, got my wings in Beeville, Texas, but mainly served in Pensacola, then Norfolk, Virginia. Then we did 3 years in Sigonella, Sicily, and back to Norfolk. So got out, retired, ended up retiring Navy commander. So thank you. Go Navy.
Hi, I'm Richard Wilkening. I was Army Artillery. I was in the Army from 67 to 68 and over in Vietnam for 14 months.
Some of you may remember me. I was a former faculty member here for 31 years. My name is Lyle Niemeyer. I was an Army person. We had a thing known as career when we graduated from college, and I was very fortunate because I was shipped to Europe, and being an accounting instructor and a person prepared to teach accounting, they put me in finance. And the only injury I ever had was a paper cut.
Good morning. My name is Amber Bolin, and I'm a CVA advisor here on campus, and I get the privilege of working with our veteran students and their educational benefits.
I am Cheyenne Kloss. I am in the Army National Guard as a combat medic. I have been deployed over to Germany and Kosovo for riot controls, and I honestly love what I do, and I couldn't be happier to serve.
We present to you our veterans, active duty members, and CVA advisors. Let's give a big round of applause.
Five years ago, the Prisoner of War Missing in Action Remembrance was added as part of the MCC Veterans Day ceremony. The POW MIA flag was designed for the National League of Families of Prisoners of Wars and those missing in action. It symbolizes the United States' resolve to never forget POWs or those who were missing in action, especially during the Vietnam War. The flag was designed by Newton Heisley, a World War II veteran. The flag's design features a silhouette of a young man, which is based on Mr. Heisley's son, who was medically discharged from the Marine Corps after contracting hepatitis. As Mr. Heisley looked at his son's gaunt features, he imagined what life was for those behind barbed wire fence on foreign shores. He then sketched the profile of his son as the new flag's design. The flag features a white disc bearing in black silhouette a man's bust, a watchtower with a guard on patrol, and a strand of barbed wire. White letters, POW and MIA, with a white 5-pointed star in between, are typed above the disc. Below the disc is a black and white wreath above the motto, "You are not forgotten," written in white capital letters. Let us now remember these heroes.
The table before you is a place of honor. It is set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us today, and so we will remember them. This table set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith awaiting for their return. Remember. The red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. Remember. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach for their unconquerable spirit. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us tonight. Remember. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember. Remember all of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended on their might and aid and relied on them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. Until the day they come home. Remember. Thank you.
You packed your bags and shut the door. You crossed the sea to fight a war. You didn't know just what would happen to you. Stepped in the dirt, boots on the ground, and gunfire was the only sound. And to yourself you whispered hallelujah, hallelujah. every day and every night. You walk the walk, you fight the fight. You never saw the end in sight, now did ya? The days are washing our hairs off red, the blood, the mud, too many dead. Your weary soul was crying hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Too late to help you hear a shot. You know you're in a deadly spot. You never thought the day would come, now did ya? Your brother falls down to the ground. The enemy is all around, and from your lips you scream a hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You fought the fight till it was done. You have the strength to carry on. You thought it'd be much better back home, did ya? You try each day, keep pushing through, but the battle lives inside of you. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
The Quilts of Valor was something that we just started last year, and that was all because Pam Plague, part of the Sew Society of Marshalltown, nominated me to receive one. And then after that, I nominated one student last year and 2 veterans, and then we are doing them again this year. The Quilts of Valor Foundation was created in Catherine Roberts' home in Seaford, Delaware. It literally started from a dream she had while her son was deployed in Iraq, beginning the Quilts of Valor movement, which spread across the nation and beyond. The first Quilt of Valor was awarded in November 2003 at Walter Reed Army Medical Center to a young soldier from Minnesota who had lost his leg in Iraq. 2 years later, in 2005, the Quilts of Valor Foundation was formed. Catherine knew a Quilt of Valor had to be a quality made quilt, not a charity quilt. Quilts of Valor would be the civilian equivalent of a Purple Heart Award. A Quilt of Valor had to be quilted, not tied. Quilts of Valor would be awarded, not just passed out like magazines or videos. A Quilt of Valor would say unequivocally and whatever. Thank you for your service, sacrifice, and valor in serving our nation. So here today we have the Marshalltown Sew Society to present a Quilt of Valor to Mark Fileman.
Good morning. We're here as members of the Central Iowa Quilt Society for this special celebration, and we thank you for letting us be here with you today to honor veterans who are connected to MCC in some way with a Quilt of Valor. Before we continue, we'd like to say at our November 2nd Quilt of Valor presentation for the community, we presented Quilts of Valor to 2 veterans from your organization who cannot be here today. We honored Derek Albee and Dustin Aiken. And a special thank you goes to both of them for their service. And yes, last year we had the honor of presenting Paley, with her Quilt of Valor and 3 veterans from MCC. We do appreciate this opportunity to be with you today to present a Quilt of Valor to a 3rd veteran from your organization. Mark, would you please come forward? Mark Fileman is here today to be presented a Quilt of Valor. We are here today to honor him for his service to our country. Mark began his U.S. Navy career in Pensacola, Florida, at Aviation Officer Candidate School in 1980. He was commissioned as ensign in March 1981. Mark then attended flight training in Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, Texas, for the T-28 and Beeville, Texas, the T-2C and A-4 Skyhawk, receiving his Wings of Gold in October of 1982. His flying assignment included the A-4 in Pensacola, Florida, and the E-2 Hawkeye and C-2 Greyhound in Norfolk, Virginia, the C-2 in Centinela, Sicily, and E-2 and C-2 in Norfolk as a flight instructor. During his career, he received the Navy Achievement Medal, the Navy Unit Commendation, the National Defense Medal, the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, Meritorious Unit Commendation, and Air Force Spendery Medal. A highlight of his service was when he was assigned to the SS Forrestal as officer in charge of a C-2 detachment. He flew mission through the North Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf. Mark completed his Navy career in the Naval Reserves with a total of 21 years, retiring as Navy Commander. Mark was a member of Optimus International, having served as the governor of the Iowa District from 2018 to 2019. Mark is currently an adjunct professor of mathematics and statistics here at MCC, along with Des Moines Area Community College. He is married to Anne for 43 years, and they have a son, Grant. His quilt was pieced by Carrie Glessner and quilted by Gloria DeBauer. It is being presented by Gloria and Marvis Drew. Mark, please accept this quilt as a token of our deep appreciation of your service. And each recipient receives a certificate from the Quilts of Valor. The Quilts of Valor Foundation wishes to recognize you for your service to our nation. We consider it a privilege to honor you. Though we may never know the extent of your sacrifice and service to protect and defend the United States of America, as an expression of gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor. This completes our presentation, and we thank you again for your service and for giving us the time to honor these veterans on your program day today. Thank you.
Before we conclude our ceremony with the playing of the taps, we invite all veterans to a free lunch at the cafeteria, courtesy of the MCC Food Service. If you need directions to the cafeteria, please let us know. The PowerPoint presentation of our veterans will be replayed after the ceremony. And lastly, we would like to thank everyone here today in helping us honor all veterans and their families, especially those currently serving.
We are going to conclude, as Amber said, with the tradition of taps, and I'm going to go off script for 30 seconds. I know Pele gets very, very nervous when I say that. But I have to say how terribly moved I have been this morning watching these young folks, the present military persons and young veterans, has been very touching to me. And I also reflect, I sort of feel in the middle because my generation followed what was called the greatest generation. My father, my uncles, who served in the military during World War II. All of them made it back home, but I find myself between these young people who are serving now and those who served before me. And so I would like to say thank you to my dad, Uncle Jim, Uncle Neil, Uncle Dale, and Uncle Gib. The tradition of taps, as I gain my composure, the tradition of taps at memorial ceremonies such as this comes to us from its historical use as the signal that it was safe for soldiers now to go to sleep within their camps at night. It has now become our way of honoring and remembering those who have returned. They've returned to us, or those who are now sleeping the long, peaceful sleep. At the conclusion of taps, we will observe a moment of silence and remembrance, and perhaps you folks, like myself, can remember those who were serving before. Presently, the older generation, the younger generation, bring somebody to mind. After that moment of silence and remembrance, you will hear a call for dismiss, and if you will, at that time, you'll be free to go. And reminder, we do have lunch provided for us, as Amber said. If you would please stand now as taps will be played, and Sergeant Herschel will lead us in that portion of the ceremony.
Veteran, up and home. Present, arms. Order, arms. Dismiss.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.